A new op-ed piece, our next guest, Robert Bork Jr., quote, asks Joe Biden's antitrust paradox, where's the consumer welfare? That is the biggest question. We welcome Mr. Bork. Mr. Bork's consumer welfare standard has properly dominated antitrust thinking for the past 4 decades. And now it's under attack all of a sudden. Robert Bork, thank you. It's good to see you, sir. It's been a while. We appreciate your efforts. And I just want to begin with this. Why is Biden dropping your consumer welfare standard, which the entire legal profession has basically bought into? And all of a sudden, bigness is bad, and they want to regulate. Seems to me this executive order is a massive state-run regulatory regime. What do you think about this?
I think the conservatives are walking into a trap. And by the way, this is my father's consumer welfare standard from a book he wrote in 1978 called The Antitrust Paradox, which we just reissued back in April with a new forward by Mike Lee and one by myself. But the conservatives are walking into a trap. And what's going to happen, it's very sad, but what's going to happen is capitalism is going to become fossilized when they take away this neutral standard, the consumer welfare standard that has been in place and has been codified by the Supreme Court and other courts over the last 43 years. When they take that away and insert instead the old, they call it the neo-Brandeisian approach, which basically means anything goes. You need a Ouija board to figure out what policy is going to be. But you know that it's going to be massive regulation, limits on growth, limits on innovation, limits on mergers and acquisitions, and the economy is going to suffer for it, and conservatives are walking into a trap to make that happen.
Well, it's interesting. Biden, you know, when he unveiled this thing, he basically said we had poor growth, poor investment, poor innovation, small businesses didn't rise. But you have a bunch of facts that refute that. Under your father's standard of consumer welfare, the economy did very well in the last 40-plus years.
Look, we've had enormous growth in investment. We've had growth in small business, 54% more small businesses now. It's the growth of the economy has tripled in that period. I don't know what he's thinking about. I mean, somebody's giving him bad information, bad numbers.
So the question becomes, sir, should antitrust policy break up the big tech companies, particularly the media tech companies? But, you know, they're all the piece. Google, of course, Apple, one by one. Should they be broken up? Facebook is perhaps the most disliked. And I want to ask you a related question. Is antitrust action, would that solve the censorship issue, the 230 issue? Because I'm not sure it would, but a lot of conservatives want to break up tech all of a sudden.
They do, and I think that's misguided, horribly misguided. Look, I am as much frustrated by the censorship of conservative speech. Excuse me. Just yesterday, when my op-ed appeared in the Wall Street Journal, friends told me that when they tried to post it on Facebook, it was their posts were put under a review. They all.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that did not happen. That did not happen to me. I posted it twice, and I know others who posted it right away. Maybe it's the name Bork. Maybe it's the picture of my father was on there that upset them. But in any event, that's not breaking up these companies will not solve that problem. What will solve that problem are tweaks and edits to Section 230, the law that covers this stuff. There's a new act by, you should get him on your show, Senator Schatz, the Democrat, and Senator Thune, the Republican, have a bipartisan proposal called the PACT Act. And if I could remember what it actually had stood for, I'd be able to tell you. But essentially, it calls for more transparency and rapid response when if they take something down, they have to explain why. Which they don't do with any alacrity now. So I think that's a good step in the right direction. But breaking up companies that are the engines of growth, job creation, innovation, over that seems to me to be an utterly silly idea.
Yeah, I mean,
and plays right into the hands of the Dems.
I've made the same point, sir. You don't want to throw the look. These are, apart from their censorship, which is horrible and needs to be changed, and 230 needs to be wiped out. But, you know, they're American champions. I mean, they're artificial intelligence and quantum computing and cloudware advances and so forth and so on. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But, you know, this Biden edict, which covers, I guess, about a dozen federal agencies, the FTC most infamously, Justice Department will come along. It just seems like an excuse to regulate everything, you know, like a very socialistic, regulatory, state-run blanket over the whole economy. Gives them an excuse to do almost anything to almost anybody.
You're right on the money. That's exactly what it is. This is not about antitrust. This is using antitrust to as a weapon to take over the economy, to exert control in ways they never have before, and to do so with all sorts of woke policies and woke standards that don't apply. Again, the consumer welfare standard puts the consumer at the center of antitrust and competition policy. It says, if you're going to enforce something in antitrust, if you're going to enforce the antitrust laws, be sure that they are harming consumer welfare and maximizing consumer efficiency. Efficiency on behalf of the consumer is the thing we're trying to accomplish. But you throw that out, then there are no standards whatsoever. It's all personal preference. It's all whatever, Lena Khan or Tim Wu or President Biden they ought to do.
Statism. That's all. Statism. So
yeah,
it's awful.
Exactly.
Robert Bork, Jr., we thank you, sir. Appreciate it very, very much. Hope to come back another time.